The other practice pitching area would be the area to the left of hole number 13 in this grass area. And we've got a little bit more flexibility here because we've got a little bit more length, but we might, what we feel we can do is create a green that can accept shots from 50 yards, from 75 yards, and from 100-yard shots. And it's one of those kind of situations where, when you're on the practice range, you can practice that shot, but it's really quite nice to be able to have a green complex where you've got a bunker and a green. It's something that really kind of emulates those shots. And so we, create 3 different tee complexes that really allowed you to practice some of those mid-range iron shots. So moving on to the golf course. And I apologize. I realize that you cannot read this now, but all this information is going to be available on your website where you can read it. We've also got a handout that we can give you as well that includes this information. And what I'll do is each one, it shows what the yardage is, but we go through tee complex, car path, tees, trees, sand bunkers, greens, and landscape areas. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hit on the highlight points of each one. So on hole number 1, you've got a beautiful downhill hole. It's a great starting hole. Very little change. We want to do some small changes to the tee complex. If you go out there right now and you stand on that back tee right now, that's one of those situations where the forward part of the back tee does not allow you to really see the fairway as well. And so we're gonna reshape those tees so that we can get good line of sight from the tees down to the fairway area. You've already got a tee complex here that we're going to reuse, so that's why we don't show all 5 tees right here. There's also some areas where between 9 and 1 where you've got a significant amount of trees. And I understand the penal nature of that. We don't necessarily want to take away that penal nature, but you've got so many trees that it also makes it difficult for Andy to maintain some of the turf grass in that area. And so we're looking to remove some of those trees, open those areas up. We're not looking to make it easier. We're just looking to get more sunlight, more air circulation through there. We're looking to add a bunker between the first and second landing areas, more of a turning bunker. You've got this nice downhill dogleg right par 5, a bunker to help turn the green. And then again, with the green complex here, what we'd like to do is marry that green a little closer to the lake right now. Right now, that green's probably about 15 to 18 feet away from... the green will accept your shot. Moving on to the second hole. The second hole is going to be one of those changes that that is going to be a little bit more dramatic. And currently you've got a long par 3 over water that I think is a speed of play issue. And this ties hand in hand with our ability to try to create some different lengths on this golf course. So we've got a shorter par 3. It's about 160 yards from the back tees. Much shorter, about 110 yards from the forward tees, but create a par 3 over water. A couple other changes that we look at doing is right now you've got some palm trees that you can actually hit the palm trees and then drop back into the water, and we feel like that's almost a double jeopardy or a double penalty. Palm trees are great. They're easy to relocate, and so what we look to do is actually take those trees and then relocate them to the backside of the green and really create kind of a nice backdrop to that green. Again, there's quite a bit of area between the lake and the green. There's probably about 15 to 20 yards of area. I know. It's a shorter shot, though. But really what that does is that lake is in play for the higher handicap golfer, but it's not necessarily in play for the lower handicap golfer. The lower handicap golfer isn't going to miss a 15 to 20 yard shot short. The higher handicap golfer might. So we're trying to create an even situation for both, where we're giving you a shorter shot into the green, but we're creating a green that actually marries with the lake. Couple things on number 3. One of the first things that I saw when I stood on the number 3 tee is that I saw a lot of cart path, and you see a lot of cart path that kind of that ramps up, and there's a small berm right here, and I think that's more of a flood control berm that when water comes down here, there's a way to direct it so that it doesn't come into the cul-de-sac or into this area as well. But with the way that the cart path is situated, it really becomes prominent. And so we would look at modifying this cart path a little bit so that we can create it in such an angle in such a way that you're not staring straight into the to concrete. Very little change to the fairway area. This is an area that we propose to add bunkers. One is it's hard to see the fairway. In fact, I think it's kind of a blind fairway, so we don't think it would be fair to do that. But what we do is probably add a few more trees. This portion of the golf course feels like, not that it's under tree, but it doesn't feel like it has as many trees as other portions of the course. So we want to bring this area so it's a little bit more consistent. Again, rebuild the green complex, rebuild the greenside bunkers, and they would basically stay in the same location. You would have a bunker back left and a bunker front right, and a green that would actually accept shots for the appropriate shot. Hole number 4. There's a couple different changes here, and some moderately significant. There was the desert escape plan that was done back a little while ago, and I think that there's portions of that desert escape plan that were done very well, and I think it looks quite nice. And there's other parts of that desert escape plan that I don't think they got it quite right. And one of the areas is the way that those tee complexes were handled. And you've got that hole and the next hole where you've got these island tees, and that's difficult for a couple different reasons. One is they're a little small, and it's par 3, and those island tees get beat up, and it doesn't look consistent with the rest of the golf course. Number 2, I'm not a big fan of cart paths that run in front of tees. One, I think aesthetically I don't think it looks well, but I don't think it really creates a good situation of getting in and out of your cart. And so what we'd look to do is relocate that cart path and bring it back behind the tee complex here, fill in this area where we can create a significantly larger tee complex for the black, the blue, the white, the silver, and the red tees, and create a much better kind of team complex for that golf hole. Again, this is going to be the shortest par 3 on the golf course. You've got a bunker left, a bunker right now. I think we'd look to add a bunker back left as well, but create a nice, fun, strategic par 3. Number 5 is an interesting hole, and I've heard a lot about the trees that used to be on hole number 5. I wish I could see a picture of what those trees look like, but everybody tells me that that's what made the golf hole. Okay, and it's interesting. Alistair McKenzie. Anybody heard of Alistair McKenzie? He designed Cypress Point. He designed Augusta National. He had a famous comment that said that you never want to build the strategy of a golf hole around a tree, and the reason why is because trees die and they go away. And I think the 5th hole is a prime example of that. And I've seen that there's been an attempt to put trees back that would kind of recreate that, but it's going to take 30, 40 years for those trees to ever kind of get the size and stature that would actually impact it. And so we're going to take a different approach, and our approach is going to be to put in a hazard that creates some risk and reward that won't go away. And we feel that we can do that with the sand bunkers there. And so, again, it may be a situation where with these sand bunkers that from these tee complexes, you can play this hole a variety of different ways. And I think in many cases it's going to emulate some of the shots that you had when the trees were there. Because as I understood it, with the trees, that a lot of times you had to hit a cut shot over those trees. Could you hit it over those trees? You could, but it took a good shot, did it not? Okay. And so this isn't necessarily a height issue, but as you play these tees, you've got a variety of different options. You can hit a cut shot and hit it around the bunkers. You can try to challenge these bunkers where you can try to hit over it, and that's not necessarily a height issue, but it's more of a kind of a strategy of, okay, I'm going to bite off as much as I can chew. If I can hit it over this farthest fairway bunker, I'm going to give myself the best angle to the green complex. If I take an easier approach and hit over this one, I might not necessarily have as good of an angle into this green complex. But I think also what we're going to do is we're going to create a beautiful golf hole out there where with these bunkers are really going to stand out, that they're going to set up well, they're going to play off of each other, and then we put a bunker, almost more of an aiming bunker that wouldn't necessarily be reachable for the higher handicap golfers, but for the lower handicap golfers that are playing it safe and still hitting long, this bunker might come into play. The green complex, I think you've got a great location there. We're gonna put the green in the same location again. Try to make it a green that accepts the shots that are hidden to that green. Hole number 6, again, not a lot of dramatic changes. You can see that we're extending the car path beyond the tees a little bit. You've got one long runway style tee there. We'd look to break that tee up. We'd rebuild the left greenside bunker in place and then add a bunker on the right hand side. My understanding is that there used to be a bunker there before. This would be a bunker that would probably not be reachable for most of your higher handicap golfers. Green complex, again, we'd rebuild in the same place, the same strategy. We've proposed that the car path come along the backside along here, my understanding is that most people use this cart path here, and so that's a cart path that we definitely want to keep. There's one already behind it. Okay. Mm, that's all right. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Hole number 7. Again, not too many changes. I think the biggest change is that you've got 2 prominent trees that really impact your shot. In my mind, it blocks your view toward the fairway, and we'd recommend that those trees be eliminated. That you've got a clear shot into the fairway complex. We'd also look at adding a fairway bunker on the left-hand side that would help turn the golf hole. And then again, the green complex would stay the same. You basically have the green in the same location. You have a bunker front left and a bunker back right. Hole number 8 is, again, another example of where you've got those runway style tees, and if you play the back tees or you play the middle part of the back tees, you realize that you can't see the beginning part of the fairway because you can't see over the forward part of that tee. And so as we rebuild these tees, we'll step them down so that you've got a clear line of sight from all tee complexes back down to the fairway. 8th hole is a great hole, and it's a beautiful hole. We're not looking to make any radical changes. The green complex and the bunkers would stay in the same location. The 9th hole is interesting. The first time that I drove the course and played the course, coming out between the houses and then to the right, I felt vulnerable in a cart that if somebody was teeing off here, that I thought I might have an errant shot hit me. And it just didn't feel comfortable. And so I think there's a situation that we can do to mitigate that. And what we'd propose to do is take the tee complexes and slide them over further to the right. The back tee, we'd actually slide closer to the pump station that's at the lake at number 1. And then we'd take the next tee complex and we'd move that again closer to the lake as well. What this allows us to do is to swing the cart path out and farther away and really bring that line of sight and that shot away from where you're exiting the houses right there. We'd look to rebuild the fairway bunker on the left in place, and then recreate kind of the same strategy. This is again, it's an uphill par 5, but it's a short par 5, and some of your longer players can actually reach this green in 2, but we want to create a situation where whether or not you're reaching this green in 3 shots or 2 shots, that you've got some strategy that you need to think your way through this golf hole. Hole number 10. Again, we've got a light touch on this golf hole, and again, because when we do these master plans, it's not like we're looking to touch every golf hole and change every golf hole. When you've got a golf hole that works and that it plays right, short of the green complex, we don't want to make changes. So we're not here to make unnecessary changes. Really, one of the bigger changes that we would probably do is obviously there would be some change to the tee complex here. But there's also a situation where we add a couple trees on the left-hand side. There's a point where you're standing in the first landing area where you're looking up, and a lot of the access road to where's that going, to the water tanks, is quite visible. And so I think just with a few strategically placed trees, we could actually block that view toward that path. Again, we'd look to rebuild that green complex, rebuild it so that you've got multiple pin placements in the front, the back, and the middle, and that it can accept those shots. Hole number 11. It's a beautiful golf hole, and it's a tough golf hole. Also, the tee complexes that you have there are indicative of the style that we want to do, because you've got a separate back area, you've got a separate blue tee, a white tee. We'd probably add another tee complex right there. You've got a couple situations where when you actually stand in that fairway, where your view toward the valley is blocked, and part of that is because you've got this high berm of dirt on your right-hand side. And so one of the things that we'd propose to do is actually lower that berm down and widen this landing area, create a more generous landing area, but also give you views toward the valley. And one area that I admitted is that you've got some areas up by the tee complex where you've got probably more trees than you need up there. And I like the trees up there, but I think that by eliminating 1 or 2 trees that you could actually enhance your view toward the valley, because I feel like a lot of times you stand on the tee and you don't see the valley because you've got this wall of trees right there, and we look to thin those out. Another area is this is a kind of a tough second landing area, and I realize that this is a par 4, but the place is a par 5 too. This landing area, we feel that we can go in and actually enlarge that landing area a little bit, and we can do this by changing some of the grades and creating a wider kind of bailout area for your higher handicap golfers. The green complex, again, we rebuild in place. You've got a pretty steep green there, and we look to kind of soften that a little bit and make it a little bit more playable. The 12th hole is just one of those beautiful, beautiful downhill par 3s, and I think it's a special golf hole. But again, one of the things what I don't like is that if you stand at the back of any one of those tees, you cannot see over the forward portion of that tee, and you can't necessarily see the green complex as well as I'd like you to be able to see it. And what we've done is we've done a line of sight analysis that says that if your eye level is at 4'8" or 5 foot, the tee can only be about 18 to 22 feet deep. And if it's that deep, that will allow you from the back of the tee to see over the front of that tee and see the green complex. And not only see the green complex, but see the front part of the green. And so what we look to do is rebuild these tees so that from each tee complex and from the back of the tee complex that you could see the entire green right here. Not much change to the green. The green would be rebuilt in place. Same thing with the sand bunkers. Maybe add a few more trees to hide the pump station or the booster pump station to the back left. 13th hole, some moderately significant changes. Again, we look to add some fairway bunkers where you don't currently have fairway bunkers, and create a situation where you create some risk and reward for your lower handicap golfers, but also give a generous landing area for your higher handicap golfers back here. One of the bigger changes that we do, and this is a little bit more of a domino effect from the changes that we're doing with the practice range and the 18th hole, is we'd look to continue a cart path down and bring it around the backside of this green complex, allow you easy access in and out of this green complex, but again, probably eliminate that cart path to the right of the green complex. 14 begins a series of golf holes where I think we've got an unused opportunity on your golf course, and it's some fun changes that I think can really enhance the golf hole. Before I get to that, though, you've got one of those runway-style tees that is actually kind of faced in my mind in the wrong direction. It's not faced at your landing area. It looks like you're supposed to be heading off toward the maintenance area. The other part about that is, as you stand on those tees, you look right down the cart path, which is what we don't want to see. And so what we'd look to do is to rebuild those tees, that we get separate tees that are kind of aimed and pointed in the right direction, and then relocate the cart path off to the left where you're not going to see it. The first landing area, there wouldn't be much change, although this is a short downhill par 5 that's reachable for a lot of golfers, and we want to kind of maintain that fun and that playability, but I think there's some enhancements that we can do. And one of the enhancements is that I feel that your wash that you have that runs down the right side of that golf hole is one of those unused portions of the property that it's grass. You're never going to turn it into desert scape because you need good erosion control, but it's an area of the golf course that we can create some kind of different varieties of how you play that golf hole. And so once you're at your second landing area, or your first landing area, you've got a variety of different ways to play this golf hole. You can play a real safe shot down to the right where we'd probably take out a few trees but give you a big wide landing area. But by taking that easier shot, you might have a little bit more difficult shot going into the green complex. You might decide to play it short of these bunkers here, but then give yourself 140, 130 yard shot into the green complex. If you're a longer hitter and want to challenge, you can hit over those bunkers and then have a short chip into the green. Or again, if you're a longer hitter, you can try to reach the green too.